JHK here for the AllStar, and joining right now is UFC middleweight Kyle Daukaus. Kyle, it's been a wild couple of months, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. It's wild. 2021 in its whole self has kind of been crazy in my life, but yeah, I just gotta deal with the punches, roll with the punches, and just keep moving forward.
All right, well, let's talk about what has transpired. You go in there, you fight Kevin Holland. The fight ends in a controversy. They book the rematch. Holland
Yeah.
gets pulled. Roman Dolidze replaces him. You go
Yep.
back-to-back training camps. The last 2 months. Let's talk about that ride, man. How has that changed your mentality or anything like that?
Uh, Not really. I mean, I've been training to fight Holland. So like my training and game planning has been a lot of wrestling and grappling against the cage and on the ground. And Roman kind of has the same game plan on the guys that he fights. So I know I'm going to be conditioned and ready to go if the fight goes, to those areas. But I'm going to go out there and just be the best that I can be. And I pretty much had the best performance I could have had against Holland, minus the headbutt. Everything was going great. I felt great, and I expect to do the same thing and then get the win on the 13th.
Yeah, that Holland fight, man. I don't know. I thought you got robbed of a win, man. Because in
Yeah.
any other fight, they wouldn't go back and rewind that shit and then change the outcome.
Now, thinking back to it now, I've watched it a bunch of times and I've seen everybody's perspective on it. I just think that we need to make the referees more accountable for their choices in the octagon and in the cage or wherever they're judging or refereeing. Um, yeah, he should have been put on the mic, I think, afterwards, explaining his situation as to why he changed it. But we don't do that. But I think we should when it comes to controversial. This on Saturday there was a controversial fight. I mean, I didn't watch it. I saw a lot of the like flack that the referee was getting. But yeah, I think it's on him. I think it's on the referee. I think it's on Dan. He switched it for a reason, and we don't really know why. He told us in the cage that he was going to keep it a win based off of how well he had recovered from the headbutt. But I don't know. People change. Other people are talking in their ears, and things happen. So
Yeah, humans, man. Humans are easily manipulated.
yes, yes.
Now, the Holland rematch, has that ship sailed for you? Is it like, okay, if it happens like way down the line, it's cool, but if it doesn't, I got my own path I could take.
No, that last fight happened. It happened. I'm not going to be one that's going to dwell on a fight or dwell on a opponent that I have, just because I don't really think I need to do that. I'm not the type of guy I'm not going to dwell. I know a lot of fighters in the situation that they're in, they would dwell on it because he's got a number next to his name. He's a big name, blah blah blah, whatever. But lately, I've honestly just been tired of talking about him and talking about like the situation at hand. But I have to get my voice out there and give my side of the story and whatnot. But no, they came back and said that he was injured, but they're going to try to get the fight in February, based off of this fight on the 13th. But no, my sole purpose right now and sole goal is to win and get through Roman, and then we'll see what's next. But if that fight comes, I'll sign the contract, regardless of who's on the contract. I'll sign it. So it doesn't matter if I'm not going to be out here pushing for a Holland fight, come February or March or whenever he's available or whatnot. I could care less.
I was watching an interview you did, and you mentioned that you had no interest in going to Fight Island. Could you delve into the reasoning behind that?
I'm just not one for flying, and I'm not one for like fighting on different and odd timelines. Like I think they had the fights were for this past weekend were like on like a set schedule of like 10 p.m. their time or whatnot. But when my brother had gone, he had fought at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I don't think I could do that. Like I think that's just too tough. It's too tough on the fighters. They should just let them acclimate to the Abu Dhabi time and just have them fight at 10 o'clock that time and just have us watch the fights earlier in the morning for the American people and the other people around the world. But yeah, I'm not one for flying for 18 hours or whatnot and cutting weight and all that and getting a weird schedule and everything. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, I think it's different when you're flying from the States compared to flying from, let's say, like the UK, or it's
Yeah.
different. Like your body is I think UK is very similar to the timeline, so it's your body doesn't have to really get used to it. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, man. It's a tough ask for a lot of these athletes.
Yes. Yeah, it's a tough task that a lot of the guys have to go through, but these guys do it. My brother did it, and other people are doing it, and hats off to them.
For sure. Now, your opponent coming up, Roman, he's 3-1 in the UFC. When you look back, have you had time to look back on his performances, or did you watch him unknowingly thinking, that you're gonna face him one day?
No, I have an eye on everybody in the division, so I kind of have like I know who guys are. Like if they can't, I don't think they're gonna ever come to and give me like a name that I'm not gonna know about. I watch the fights every weekend. I'm tuned into all the media that's going on in the fight game. And yeah, I was very familiar with Roman. I watched this fight. I actually watched this fight against Trevin Giles when he lost. I was sitting on my couch watching that live that day that happened. And I also watched his last fight when they there was a little bit of controversy behind that as well, just because he held the guy up against the cage for 3 rounds. But I know him. I know his style, and I think it's a great matchup for me.
When you break it down to the basics, what type of fighter do you see in Roman?
I see him as a very simple, basic fighter, but he gets the job done. He's very good at the little things that he does. He's an ADCC, I think, trials champion or finalist or something, or grappling, whatnot. But this is MMA, so it's gonna be a little bit different. But he always like to go for leg locks. But I think he's a very good fighter. He knows his positioning, and he knows what to do to get the job done in there. So,
how much leg lock, practice do you get in a normal camp? I feel like MMA fighters are so busy with everything that they're doing. Leg locks would be one of the last things.
Yeah. As far as my camps go, I'm not one to solely make it on me. I have a group of guys, and in the morning we train. We have a no-gi class, and we have guys in there that like leg locks and whatnot. We go for them. I have to know every position that a fight has, and that every position that jiu-jitsu has, and I have to know how to attack and defend from those positions. So I actually have a guy that I cornered recently on last Friday. He competed at a grappling match. He's a very leg lock heavy guy, and I've been training with him nonstop lately, and for a while now, almost a year now, since the whole pandemic and everything happened. But yeah, I'm familiar with the positioning, so I'm not really worried about anything.
I was talking with a coach, and he was telling me that that's the new frontier right there. Like, whoever gets really mastered in the leg lock game and avoiding the punches, of course, will be the new phenomenon in MMA. Do you feel like that's coming soon?
I don't know. I think in the jiu-jitsu game that's kind of the top thing now, just because Danaher's gone out there and changed the whole game as far as people ignoring the legs and whatnot. But in MMA, it's tough because your sole focus is on one limb of the opponent, and both of your hands are on there, and they can punch you, and they have 2 free hands that they can punch you with. As long as they know how to defend and not be worried about the position that they're in and not panic, then you're in for a world of trouble. I mean, it showed for Dolidze against Trevin Giles. He went for his leg, and he took a lot of shots. So I don't think it's something that's going to be, that's going to spark up in MMA, and a lot of people are going to be getting finishes with it. But it's something that you have to be worried about because it's a basic position in jiu-jitsu. So
when you got an opponent that is decorated in one aspect such as grappling, do you look at that and say, okay, that's something that I could take with me after this victory, and that's mine? I want to challenge myself.
Yeah, of course. Anytime you can beat somebody at their game, it's great. But I'm not going to go out there and solely be focused on getting a submission win over him or getting a leg lock victory over him. I'm going to go out there, and if I TKO him, I TKO him. If I knock him out, I knock him out. If I submit him, I submit him. Or if I grind out a decision, then so be it. As long as I'm going in there and getting my hand raised at the end of the night, I don't care how the fight goes.
What do you think about pulling guard in an MMA fight?
I would never do it. You have to be very very confident in your ability off of your back. A lot of these guys, you see that the positions in MMA, as of right now, it's leaning more towards a Khabib style, where it's just being very heavy on top. So, guys that aren't very good off their back, it wouldn't be something smart to do. I would never do it. But Fabricio Verdum done it, and I'm sure a couple other guys have done it. I'm just forgetting their names, but yeah, it's not something I would ever do.
Yeah, and wrestling and jiu-jitsu. You guys been doing jiu-jitsu for so many years. You're a black belt. Wrestling. When did you start to incorporate that into your jiu-jitsu?
I mean, wrestling's always been a thing that we've had training in. We just never like had like a set training coach as far as like our wrestling coach or anything like that. We recently have just, been going to a local high school near us, Ryan High School, and getting some reps in with the wrestling team and the wrestling coaches, just picking their brain on different positions and different, like situations that we can implement into MMA. We kind of just practice along with the practice team, and then whatever we feel works for us. It's something that you need to do. You need to always get, all of your tools sharpened. So it's just another tool in the toolbox that we have in case we need to use it.
When you go and train with those the high school team, man, those kids have energy for days, dude. Like that must test your cardio like crazy.
It does. The kids there are very good. They're very gritty, and that's how we are. We're very gritty, and we go forward the whole time. And it's crazy to see like a high school kid, keep up with you when you're wrestling. But again, you're wrestling, you're not there MMA, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. And they're pretty much the same size, right? High school kids nowadays are just massive.
Yeah, they're pretty big now. Yeah, it's a surprise. I wasn't ever that big in high school, so
yeah, for sure.
Scary.
Yeah. So what are you expecting in this fight? I know you want to just your goal is to get the victory, but what do you want to show in this fight against Roman?
I just want to go out there and have the best performance that I can possibly have. Those 2 minutes in the last fight, I felt like I was doing great. I was dominating. I was dominating the standing. I was dominating the ground, and I was dominating the cage work. And I plan on going out there on the 13th and not being any different. That last fight, I felt super confident going into the cage. That was probably the best I ever felt mentally and physically. And I'm just getting better. I'm just getting better every single day that I step into the gym and train. So, yeah, the 13th, I'm just looking forward to getting in there and putting on the best performance I can possibly put on.
How did it feel going into that last fight as the underdog? But you had a lot of support, man, online going in with stylistically to beat Holland, and you did beat him. What did that feel like for you?
It's just good to have support, and I don't mind being the underdog. I actually prefer it because I think there's less pressure on you. Going into that fight, it was the Kevin Holland. It was a return of Kevin Holland, so all the pressure was on him as far as getting the job done, and he didn't, obviously. But all eyes are on me now because I have a new fight planned. So I'm excited, and I'm thankful for all the support. I was really surprised by all the support that people had because he's a big name guy and people love him. So
yeah. Well, a lot of the people, they knew exactly what was going to happen. So, it is what it is. Now, the UFC is the UFC. And lately I've seen a lot of people say these other promotions like Bellator and PFL is the B League, so to say. Do you agree with that statement?
No, not at all. Because I know that there's guys. That's not something that I don't think should be said. I think it's just because you see guys that are from Bellator and whatnot, they get signed to the UFC and they do great. Look at Chandler. Chandler he's done pretty good so far. Eddie, look at Eddie. Eddie's done great. Other guys from Bellator and other guys have left the UFC and gone to Bellator and also have done good. So it's and there's guys in the UFC that have done bad. If you look at Rory McDonald, he didn't have that good of a career after he left the UFC. But no, I don't think it's something to say. I think that everybody from the PFL to Bellator to one to the UFC, I think those are the top four, and I don't think any one of those guys should be called the A League or the B League. Obviously the UFC is probably the most known, so people think it's the top of the top. They think it's the NFL of the sport, which in our eyes it is. But I don't see any other one of those three other organizations, being any lesser than the UFC is.
All right, now the middleweight title fight coming up. Adesanya, Whitaker 2, I believe it's going to happen early 2022. The location is not determined. Adesanya, of course, he's going to be the favorite, but Whitaker is capable of winning that fight. With Whitaker's skill set, what does he need to implement to capture that title again?
I just think that first fight he came out too aggressive and too, like guns blazing. He didn't look like himself. In my honest opinion, he didn't look like himself. Adesanya, I think, might have gotten into his head. But I think he's motivated even more now, obviously, because he lost and he gets to fight him again. But I think Whitaker will get the job done. I think he'll be the first person to beat Adesanya at middleweight. And I think Whitaker will get it done. Just as long as he stays composed, uses his boxing and uses his grappling, I think it'll be great.
How big of a factor do you think the grappling will be? Because Whitaker is a very good wrestler.
Yeah, I think that not so much as the wrestling, but the offensive cage work that Whitaker needs to do. Like, I think that's kind of Adesanya's kryptonite, is a guy that can really grind you against the cage, not get hit too many times striking wise, close that distance, push you against the cage, and just grind you. Like a Khabib style, I think, beats Adesanya. And I don't think Whitaker's going to go out there and do that, but if he can, then that would be great. But I think that's Adesanya's kryptonite.
Okay, so grind him like some coffee beans against the
Yes.
cage.
Yeah,
All right. I see you. Now, one last question. It's an open-ended question. You can answer it whatever way you want. What keeps you up at night?
I mean, that goes for, like, it's good and bad. As of right now, what keeps me up at night is November 13th. Just making sure I get the win. Just making sure that I'm going out there and I'm doing everything that I possibly can every single day training. Going out there and not performing to the best that I can possibly be is something that haunts me. It haunts every fighter, I'm sure, as long as they just the job done. And I put full trust in myself, but everybody still has second guessing. You always second guess everything. You make sure you're doing everything right, and you make sure that you're training hard enough. But you have to find that fine line between training hard and not training too hard. You know what I mean? And that's kind of something that keeps me up at night, I guess. Yeah.
What about outside of fighting?
Outside of fighting, probably too much coffee keeps me up at night.
All right.
Too much coffee. But yeah, I mean, a lot of, I guess, life things. Just making sure that, like, everybody's secure, that your life is good, and you're safe, and you have a good family and a healthy family. I mean, my fiance and we just got engaged, and we're looking to start a family now. So that's something that it's kind of on our minds right now. But yeah, I don't know if that keeps me up at night, but sometimes it does.
Yeah, well, life things, man. But your life has seemed like it's going good. You got a fight coming up. You're engaged. You're about to get married. What else can be better than that? Appreciate your time, Kyle. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it as always.